Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. I'm Ross Benjamin of RBWins.com, host of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast, right here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, powered by GamblersWorld.com. Once again, I am joined by Mr. Jesse Shule of JesseShule.com and Sean Higgs. And make note of this, folks, winningfreepicks.com. That's where you'll find Sean at his own site there, winningfreepicks.com. And again, you can find Jesse at JesseShule.com. I hope everybody out there, including my two cohorts, had a nice July the 4th weekend, extended weekend. And I know, Jesse, you guys don't celebrate July the 4th there in Thailand, and you being of Canadian descent, your day is July the 1st. But Sean, I'm sure you had something cooking on the grill yesterday.
I just did some simple burgers, nothing fancy. I went over to a friend's house. We went with the fam for just a couple hours. It was a birthday, so we stopped by over there for a little bit. And then my daughter wanted to go to her friends. Ended up having a sleepover. And so my mom came over. We just had some burgers and hung out and watched The Little Red Dawn. So true American holiday. And I want to say real fast with the winning free picks. It's still part of the picks and parlays, folks. Ross is there, Jesse's there. It's not like just my giant potato head on there. It's the same kind of site, but with football coming, I'm going to have a lot more videos for football up there. So that's why I told Ross, hey, you know what? Let's get him over to the winning free pick side of things.
Yeah, you were saying that also, and nothing against picks and parlays, great sites, made us all a lot of money. And it will continue to. But you'll be able to put up some articles and previews at winningfreepicks.com, which gives you a lot more versatility in that regard. So there you go.
Especially in the video side. Yeah, it's all people love their video kind of stuff, and then it'll be with football coming. There'll be a lot more conference and team preview stuff like that, for NFL and college football.
There you go, winningfreepicks.com. It's an easy site to remember. So there you will find Sean Higgs, all of his stuff, videos and picks. And Jesse, I'm not sure what to wish you. I mean, July 1st is Canada's what they call their national 4th of July. What is it called? Canada Day. And July the 4th, nobody knows. July the 4th is just another day where you are now. And actually, it's just another day in Canada as well. So anyway, Jesse, I hope we haven't talked for a while. How are you?
Well, let's forget about what happened Friday. But I will tell you, you guys got a holiday for the U.S. There was a holiday in Canada. I celebrate every day here in Thailand because living here is, living the dream for me anyways. I'm sure for a lot of people, but I guess the last week was good, bad, and ugly for me. Ugly being the CFL. I was 5-0 the previous 2 weeks. I went 0-3 with CFL this week. I did go 7-0 with baseball, and I was pretty happy with that until I looked at my records. Until I looked at my records and saw that I was 10-0 for the 4th of July long weekend last year. So I might be losing a step. I might be losing a step.
All right. Let me. All right.
Clear the tears.
Yeah. I just want to get that out of the way. So we're talking the NFL today. We got 3 predictions in the NFC West. On over and under win totals. I don't know if I could top that one. The Seahawks, Jesse's got the Seahawks. Their total is 8.5. Sean has the 49ers. Their total is 10.5. Ross has the Rams. It's 6.5. I got to share this with you guys, and I'm sure you'll have something to chime in with, but my wife comes home yesterday and says, hey, you know what? Because she's a caregiver and she takes care of the older folks. And she met one of her clients' son yesterday. And they were going back and forth with a little chit chat. And she had told him what I do for a living. He asked what my name was. The guy recognized my name. And then he went on to tell my wife, oh, yeah. He says, I made a bet today. And she said, oh, really? You bet on baseball? He says, no. I actually paid somebody for advice on the over and under and how many hot dogs Jesse Shule, Joey Chestnut can eat. And he said he won on the over, but he actually paid. How could you actually, as a handicapper, with a straight face, charge somebody on the over and under on a hot dog eating contest with a guy who's been a perennial winner I guess he's such a lock to win it every year that now they have to revert to over and under how many he could eat. So anyway, it struck me awful.
He didn't even hit the total, did he? It was what, 72? Did he go over?
Way
He
short.
was way
Way
under.
short. Way short.
Oh, he was short? All right. He must have had the under because he told my wife he won.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe he took it on the money line minus 100,000 for him to win or whatever it was.
No.
I mean, it's the next closest guy to him is like 20 hot dogs behind. Like, where is the motivation for him to eat 80 hot dogs? It's not like he's being pushed.
Yeah. Jesse, you think you can give them a run? You can give Joey Chestnut a run?
You know what, guys? I haven't eaten a hot dog since I was about 9 years old. That's the honest to God's truth.
Really?
So
I still like hot dogs.
Yeah, I do
like
too.
Nice Thuman's makes a nice. I need a little crunch to it, like the Sabrett's at I think just Sabrett's at Costco in those white packages. They got a nice little snap.
I could already read the comment section now. Guys, we don't want to talk about hot dogs. We want to talk about picks, you know.
Although, you know, Ross, real fast, you said, how can someone go and sell that? Let's be honest, man. People get on Twitter and you see people, or TikTok or Instagram, you see folks. Why wouldn't they fall for that?
You know what? If they fall for that, I have no sympathy for them. How's that? You know, come on. I mean, what do you got? Inside information? Did you read his pregame report on how many hot dogs he had warmed up to eating? And as it is, like you said, the over and under was 72. You guys said, and he ate 62. Still won it going away, but fell well short of the under. What's that tell you? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Ross, it reminds me of during the pandemic when everybody was selling Korean baseball and Turkish soccer. Guys coming out of the woodworks, all of a sudden they're experts at these fringe sports from foreign countries. I was not partaking in that myself. I was giving out soccer though, but I always have given out soccer.
Yeah, so. Exactly. You're not trying.
I feel the same way about fringe foreign nation sports like CFL.
Yeah, man, it just gives me motion sickness watching all them guys in motion. You know, so anyway, all right, let's get to the meat and potatoes here, which is the NFL regular season win totals for 3 teams out of the NFC West. By the way, folks, I'll be covering the 4th team, which is the Arizona Cardinals, on Saturday. I'll be flying solo on that one because I don't want to put these guys through the agony of having to cover teams like the Arizona Cardinals and some of the other teams that are predicted to be terrible this year. Actually, I'm covering one of them today, which is the Rams, but they're a tad better than Arizona, but not much. Jesse, the Seahawks, their over and under win totals 8.5. To go over that total, minus 142, to go under the total at plus 116, coming off a playoff season last year, although wasn't a great season, 9-8, I think they finished last year and qualified for the playoffs in the NFC. So what's your take, buddy?
Well, Seahawks were a Cinderella story last year. They won 9 games. Geno Smith played quite well, had a career year. He got a big contract. They did well in the draft. They got a ton of talent at wide receiver. After winning 9 games last year, all they got to do is win 9 games this year. It seems easy, right? But I got that little man looking like Ross on my shoulder saying, maybe the books are trying to tell us something here. I don't like it, to be honest with you. I'm going to go under. Pro Football Focus has Seattle's offensive line ranked 30th in the NFL. I think they overachieved last year. I think they're due for some regression here. And I'm concerned about Geno Smith, to be honest with you. The guy's 32 years old. He's had 1 good year in the league, signs a big contract. And it amazes me how optimistic people can be about a player in all sports after 1 good year. And I decided to look into it a little bit and see if I could find some similar situations. a guy who's been in the league for a while, had one good year, signed a big contract, and how did he do after that? And I came up with Ryan Tannehill, who had a good year for the Titans, signed a $118 million 4-year deal. I think they're talking about cutting him now. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl MVP, signed an $88 million 4-year deal with the Jags. Did he even play for the Jags? I don't even remember. And is he even in the league anymore, Nick Foles? Case Keenum signed a 2-year, $36 million deal with Denver after having a big year with Minnesota. And that didn't work out at all for Case Keenum. And now we got Geno Smith, a 3-year deal worth $75 million. I think he's got $40 million in guarantees. Like I said, he's 32 years old. I think this is probably his last big I don't see another big contract coming for him. I could see him really disappointing, especially playing behind the 30th ranked offensive line in the NFL. You got Pete Carroll, who's 71 years old, the oldest coach in the NFL. As much talent as they have at wide receiver, it doesn't really matter who you're throwing to if you can't keep your quarterback upright. I don't think the defense is that good. So under 8.5 for me.
So Jesse likes the Seattle Seahawks under 8.5 at odds of plus 116. Makes a very compelling case. You heard what he had to say. Anybody wants to comment on his over and under prediction, feel free to do so. And again, folks, I went through this past weekend, and I'm not going to even give the person enough attention because he just was relentless. And my thing is, I have no problem with anybody disagreeing with our standpoints, our picks, but you got to keep it respectful. When you start using words like ignorant and idiots, that's where I draw the line. So again, folks, we welcome your comments, and if you agree with Jesse, fine. If you don't, that's fine too, but just keep it respectful. That's all we ask. Sean, what's your take on Mr. Schul's opinions on the Seattle Seahawks?
Well, the offensive line is the problem for them. And as opposed to, getting paid, good you get paid. You've been in the league a long time. You were on bad teams like you were the Jets for a while. I remember they drafted him. People were like, oh, it's a nice pickup, and he doesn't get a chance. I'm a little higher on Seattle because I do like the offense around him. I think defense, I think they had a decent draft all around to help out the team. Total wise, I'm kind of torn. I'd rather just take a Seattle to win. I mean, I'll be talking about San Fran in a minute. I'm kind of high on Seattle. I like everything that last year. A little collapse late, but the running back was hurt, and you had a guy who was finally in the spotlight and getting a lot of reps. So a little regression here and there. I get it, but I kind of like Seattle. But looking at their season long, it's perfect because they're favored in like 9 games. There's a couple pick'ems in there, so you could win. They could win 11. They could win 8. What's it? 9.5? The total you said it was?
No, 8.5.
8.5 makes sense. I mean, that's right around. I mean, I lean over myself because I'm high on Seattle, but can't complain about those numbers. You talk about the quarterbacks. I thought first guy comes in my head because I'm old with Scott Mitchell. Remember Scott Mitchell came in for Burrino, and all of a sudden he got like a contract with the Lions. Like, Scott Mitchell.
Yeah, I couldn't break a piece of glass over 20 yards. So with his arm. In any event, yeah, that was a good examples you brought up, Jesse, and how quarterbacks tend to get overpaid after one solid season.
Tannehill only had one good year.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, when you go back to his years with the Jets, he really didn't shine. Last year was a career year for him. I'm not going to go back to the Jets and see what his records are there.
Geno. No, I'm talking Tannehill, not Geno Smith.
Oh, Tannehill.
Tennessee, yeah.
Yeah. No, Tannehill, Jesse's right, spot on, I think. I always thought he was overrated, and he's remember, he's been a beneficiary of a great offensive line in a couple of those seasons. He had good years, and the premier running back in football, Derek Henry. So Seattle's not going to have the same luxury, especially as Jesse alluded to. You're talking about pass protection with the offensive line. How about run blocking? And if you got to start to become one-dimensional because your inability to run the ball, that's going to put additional pressure on Geno Smith. And so we'll see what happens there, but I don't disagree. with Jesse. I think that's a team that's going to be right around that number, But if I had a lean, I would go agree with Jesse on the under. And Sean, his lean is the other way, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Because I think all three of us agree they're not going to win 10 or more games in our opinions. And there's a better chance they go under than over. But, again, if maybe Higgsy's right on this team, because the NFC West, when you stop and think about it, San Francisco is elite. But then you got the Arizona Cardinals and the LA Rams, which I'm going to cover in just a couple minutes. All right, Higgsy, we got your play is going to be on the San Francisco 49ers. The over 10.5 is minus 142. The under is at plus 116, identical money line odds as Seattle, with the exception of the win total for Seattle's 8.5. The 49ers 10.5. I don't know, Higgsy, are they not giving San Francisco enough credit here? I mean, Brock Purdy, I know the quarterback is the number one thing that people are going to talk about with San Francisco, and I don't want to steal your thunder, so go for it.
So the over is minus 145, which they think they should get there. And why shouldn't they? They're favored in 16 of their 17 games. Their only time their dog is at Philly, all right, in a little rematch of last year's championship game. But you have 10 games that are like pick'ems to like 2 or 3. So where are you going with Mr. Relevant? Great last year. Offense was clicking when they put up 26, 27 points a game. You got McCaffrey for a full season. Kittle's still solid production there. Debo's excellent. I like Ayuk. I mean, you got some good offensive playmakers. The defense gives up, 15, 16 points a game. Like I say about Dallas, you're going to rely on a defense here because you're Mr. Irrelevant. And again, the guy has 5 starts. He started 5 games last year. And it's like, well, we're going to be great. He finally, I was reading an article that said he finally has a superstar quarterback and that he hasn't had a good quarterback in years. I mean, Garoppolo led this team. Again, it's always been a defensive first team, but they won 13, 10 games with Garoppolo. Now I got a guy, has he started throwing? Last report was he just started to throw in July with a elbow problem. I think we saw Trey Lance look like absolute trash. And then you have Sam Darnold. So Mr. Irrelevant with 5 starts. Trey Lance, who you trade up for, is supposed to be the future. He gets hurt. He's got 2 starts. Wasn't particularly great in either of them. One was in a monsoon. And Sam Darnold, who has 22 wins or whatever, 21 and 30 or 20 and 35, whatever his record is. I want to say Darnold's your best option here on in the mix. Him with good players around him, a good coach. I think he'll be another top 5 pick in the guy or whatever he was drafted. If I get a full season, if I don't get a full Sam Darnold here, I'm thinking, all right, over the total. Why not? If I'm looking at a guy who hasn't thrown yet with 5 starts, and again, coach is great, the defense is good, and you got 2 basically rookies in Purdy and I'm not buying a 10. I can't lay a 145 here. I can't do that. But I'd rather find an 11 spot, maybe at a 120 instead of the 140. You know me, I can't. I don't want to do the 120 plus at the door. It's and I'm not one for buying points or buying halves and stuff like that. You don't do that. But 145, I can't. With a quarterback situation like this, I can't commit to a over even on a good team that, again, it's favored in 16 games. I want to buy it up to 11 and at least be safe at a lower number than the 145. But I want Darnold the whole time. Darnold the whole time? Yes. 14-4 record or something from San Fran. I'm getting a Lance show with a Purdy. No, thank you. Under, But again, we got to see how it plays out in the summer, Phil. We do this. It's July 5th. Things change in the next 2 months, basically, with preseason. You don't know how guys get hurt, not look good. And no bet for me right now is this moment.
All sounds logical to me. And I often think when you get a regular season win total with a money line that high, it tells me the sports books are reluctant to go to the next number. Because at minus 142, you can't go much higher than that without raising it to 11. So if you do like the over, I guess you got to be willing to lay 142 and it might make sense. But again, Sean makes a lot of good points when it comes to the uncertainty of the 49ers quarterback situation. And, Jesse, they've done a great job in that organization of drafting. But one thing they've really missed upon, and I know a lot of 49ers fans are going to jump in and say, well, Purdy, they draft in the 7th round. Well, when you draft a guy in the 7th round as a rookie, you don't expect him to step in and play and excel. He did last year. Now, my question to you is, and Sean could chime in on this as well, is Brock Purdy one of those system quarterbacks that he just fits perfectly into what Shanahan wants to do there in San Francisco?
Well, Ross, my answer is not going to be very popular. People will be in the comments telling you that I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm going to disagree with Sean. I like Purdy, and I'm going to go to what they did in college. And I'm going to say Purdy willing an Iowa State team to win in the Big 12 conference when he was overmatched by teams like Oklahoma, upsetting teams like Oklahoma when he didn't have anything to work with compared to a team like Oklahoma, as opposed to Darnold with USC, a stacked team with 5-star recruits at every position, huge offensive line. And I wasn't really that impressed with Darnold's college career, even though he was so highly touted. Brock Purdy seems more like a gamer to me. I'm concerned about the fact that he's injured heading into the preseason. I don't love Darnold, but this San Francisco team's so solid up and down the roster that they don't need a quarterback to win games for them. They only need a guy that isn't going to lose them games, and Purdy or Darnold should be able to do that. So I'll agree with the analysis of over 10.5.
I mean, Garoppolo took a lot of heat when he was a starting quarterback at San Francisco, but at the end of the day, if you look at their win-loss record with him under center, they did awfully well. And I think in Shanahan's system, you don't need a guy who's going to throw for 5,000 yards because they've always had a potent running game. They're well-rounded. The play calling is terrific. But, in terms of Brock Purdy, Sean, myself, and I'm going to take some heat for saying this, but I think he was a disappointment over his last 3 years at Iowa State. Yes, he elevated them to win some games they shouldn't have. Yes, he's probably better than, I don't know, I can't remember a better quarterback at Iowa State in recent history anyway. But I thought he had a terrific freshman season, and the expectations over the next 3 years were so high. And I didn't think he lived up to the expectations, but, he got into a system where he was able to thrive. Your thoughts? And then we'll move on.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, is this guy Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Right? A late rounder. No one really gave him much credit. He comes in, gets into a championship game, gets hurt. Are we seeing really, that's, and as stupid as comparison, it really is, because how many guys really late rounders come in and win games consistent?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember any of them. I mean, Jess, you got any, maybe for tomorrow, we have to dig deep and see what kind of 4th, 5th, 6th round picks have gone on and had playoff careers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. I can think of a couple guys that have come in and maybe won a couple games to save a season, but not actually stringing a good season or several good seasons together. No.
Yeah, I mean, we'll
find out. Listen, we're going to find out, and he's got a UCL in his elbow or whatever. I mean, we're going to know in mid-August how he is. I mean, they can't keep it hush once the practices start.
Yeah, it's too bad because that injury happened in the championship game, and then their backup got hurt, and then they had to bring Purdy back in and basically had to run the ball on every play down points against Philadelphia. I would have loved to see Purdy stay healthy, and that game would have been much more competitive. I'm not saying San Francisco would have won, but that was an unfortunate situation for them. And UCL in the elbow is concerning because you got to wonder, it has to do with your arm strength. So we'll see.
The crazy thing is that every team that loses a quarterback, their season just totally goes off the rails. It's amazing how there's only like a handful of really good quarterbacks, and then it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You don't have a backup. Like, that's crazy. No team has a decent backup come in and win. You get a little lucky here and there, but it's it's weird. You see these numbers in college.
I agree with you on the Sam Darnold take. I think that, he's never had the type of supporting cast he will have in San Francisco, and you just not at the wide receiver and tight end position, but the offensive line in the run game with Christian McCaffrey. So the onus of responsibility won't be as much as it was when he was with the Jets per se, or Carolina per se, than it will be with San Francisco. And like Jesse alluded to, in San Francisco's system, they just want a quarterback that's not going to lose you the game. Maybe not just manage the game, because that sounds disrespectful, but not make those stupid mistakes and live for another down and trust your defense and those types of things. So, all right, let me get to my pick real quick, guys, because we're running short on time. What else is new? I am looking at the LA Rams. They're over and under is 6.5, over 6.5 at plus 104, under 6.5 at minus 128. Their offensive line leaves a lot to be desired. It's a big question mark. Their quality offensive depth has been depleted completely. They got some good frontline players at the skill positions, but not great ones. I mean, I guess you could say Cooper Kupp is a great one. But again, we'll see if the quarterback doesn't have time to throw. Matthew Stafford, we don't know. I mean, after winning the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, he's left a lot to be desired last year. But again, health is always the main concern with him. If he's healthy, he's very productive. But you look at their schedule, they're facing the NFC West or NFC East, excuse me. Philadelphia lost, Dallas lost. I got at the Giants lost, Washington to win. That's what I have anyway. My projections facing the NFC North or AFC North, excuse me. At Cincinnati, that's a loss to me. At Baltimore, that's a loss. And then I got them splitting against Pittsburgh and Cleveland. And then their non-division, they're playing Indianapolis on the road. They're playing Green Bay on the road, and New Orleans at home. I got them going 0-3 in those games. And then the division, I got them splitting with or winning both games against Arizona, splitting with Seattle, and losing both to San Francisco for a projection of 5-12. I am going to go under the total of 6.5 on the LA Rams and lay the juice of minus 128, which is still a reasonable number. Jesse, your take.
I agree, and I think you were a little bit generous allowing them to split games with Seattle and winning a couple against Arizona. I think that's a little too generous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, otherwise, I'm predicting the team to go 2-14, 2-15, or 3-14, which could happen. But even if you had the right under 6.5, somebody's going to criticize you because you only picked them to win 2 or 3 games. And I look at their first 5 games on the schedule. I think they're a lock to go 0-5. Their first 5. Take a look at their schedule, folks, when you have a chance.
Miami, Tennessee. No, excuse me. Rams are Seattle, San Fran, Cincy, Colts, Philly.
Yeah, and where the games are being played, and the home games are against real elite teams.
And Philly and San Fran.
Yeah, so I mean, there you have it. I see them starting out of the gate 0-5, and if indeed that occurs, then you're looking at to reach 7 wins. You would have to go Sean, 7 and let's see, 12 games left. You would have to go 7-5. I don't see that happening. So, all right, let's get to the meat and potatoes here and tell the folks, Jesse, you already told us that you're disappointed with a 7-0 run in Major League Baseball because you were 10-0 last year. Boy, oh boy, the rich get richer, Sean.
I mean, let's be honest. I was actually only 7-5 overall over the weekend.
All right,
just happened to be on a nice 7-0 MLB run. Very short term, well, read into it what you will. But I the only reason I mentioned the 10-0 last year is because I thought, wow, I wish I had seen that a couple of days ago so I could have been talking about it. But yeah, well, live to see another day. Decent weekend, pretty optimistic about everything moving forward. I would certainly recommend taking advantage of my Dog Days of Summer promotion, which only lasts for another 3 weeks. And that's 50% off of all weekly and monthly packages at jesseshewell.com. Follow me on Twitter at Jesse Shewell. Check out my YouTube videos on my YouTube channel or at Gamblers World.
There you go. Gamblersworld.com is where you'll find Jesse's daily videos. Also, his picks at jesseshul.com. And again, he's got that great special in July and August. And the guy's track record. How many years you go back on the real good Julys and August again, Jesse?
5 years, 60+% for a profit of 78,720 units. That's almost 80 grand for dime players, Ross.
Yeah, there you go. Can't beat that with a stick. So those of you who don't want to bet on baseball, the CFL, whatever else soccer, you would have left $80,000 on the table if you're a dime.
No hot dog eating.
No hot dog eating. But Sean has a steak eating contest every year, and he's the annual champion with that. But Sean's going to tell you exactly what he's got going on.
Yeah, MLB for me, nothing crazy here in July. But listen, 52 days away from college football, right around the corner. Check me out on the Midday Money Show, 7 days a week, 12 noon Eastern. I run it back at night, look at lines. We mentioned winning free picks again. It's the same as the other channel. It's just there'll be more videos, especially with football coming up. And if you like that kind of stuff, Twitter, Mr. Sean Higgs. I had a nice day in baseball yesterday. Cashed on Oakland A's, never in doubt underdog winner, 1-0, easy money there. Pirates, I think a 6-1 day or something along those lines.
Yeah, Pirates.
So nice day. I'll run it back there and see how we do. But all baseball for me in July.
Winningfreepicks.com is where Sean prefers you find him. And he will also, his shows, great shows, folks. You audience participation. He does it live, and it's going to be eventually on gamblersworld.com. We just have to straighten out a couple technical issues, and you'll see him sooner rather than later on gamblersworld.com as well. And don't forget, once again, visit his website, winningfreepicks.com. You can find me at rbwins.com. That's my personal website, or rossbenjaminsports.com, whatever you prefer. After being entrenched in a terrible slump for 2 weeks in Major League Baseball, I sort of snapped out of it over the last 3 days, going 5-2. I fully expect to have a strong finish to the MLB season because I've got off to a terrible start. And again, folks, we're as transparent on this channel as they come. We're not going to feed you a line of baloney, but when we win, we beat on our chest. When we lose, we fess up and own it. And we always we don't panic, and we stay the course, and our track records, all three of us, speak for itself over the last 20 years. So again, these guys will be back with me again tomorrow. We'll be talking more NFL regular season win projections. We'll be talking about the NFC South tomorrow. So look forward to that. So for Jesse Shule and Sean Higgs and Ross Benjamin, we like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Take care and God bless, folks.
Oh, Jesse, you got to smash.
Wait. Okay. Don't forget, there's a like button on the bottom of the screen. And Jesse, if he's going to sing in harmony.
Smash that like button.
What he said was smash that like button. There you go, folks. See you tomorrow.